Hey again everybody, this is Raphael the Film Nerd, and I know, I missed the spooky month. For the second year in a row now. I was originally going to review the FNAF movie during this time, but don't worry, because I'll be reviewing it anyway at the end of the year when I rank all the movies I saw and are going to see for this year. This video also took a while to upload because I recently came down with a cold before I started recording this part. For this video, I decided to work on my Fancast videos. You know, like I said I would ages ago, especially considering how, interesting the last one went.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
I was kinda stuck for ideas at first, but luckily, Nintendo came along and announced they're working on finishing up another one of their juicy top secret movie projects, with a live action Legend of Zelda movie, made by Sony Studios of all people, more specifically, Arad Productions, which is a Sony-owned production company that were behind Across the Spider-Verse. So it's really nice to see Nintendo going for more quality rather than just box office statistics and visually appealing animation. I do have to admit that I'm a little bit concerned about it being in live action, especially considering how cool a lot of fan concept art for a Studio Ghibli Zelda movie would have been. The 2D anime art style just fits in so well with these games, especially with the two previous titles. And I feel like that live action would make a film like this seem too aesthetically similar to the Lord of the Rings trilogy. But at the same time, I don't really have a big problem with this choice, especially considering how the Zelda franchise is more thematically darker and more mature than Nintendo's more cheerful properties, like Mario and Kirby. And it also confirms that we in fact won't be getting a Nintendo Cinematic Universe leading up to a Smash Bros movie. I for one think this is both a hypothetically and thematically safe choice, because come on, do you really want to see this movie working with a crossover between a Mario movie made by Minions R Us? Because I don't. Now, while the movie is currently in the middle of development, the cast hasn't been announced yet, and whether that's because actors have or haven't been cast for these roles currently remains unknown. What else remains unknown is what kind of adaptation we're going for with this movie. The movie could be an adaptation of the original Legend of Zelda Bird's Eye View puzzle game from 1986, but that game has a very simple premise that probably wouldn't work as something to directly adapt into a story-based movie. You walk through dungeons and castles, kill monsters, rescue the princess, that's it. Not too dissimilar from Super Mario Bros. While I'm not as much of a Zelda expert as I am with the Mario series, I do know that a lot of Zelda fans would agree that the best logical choice for a Zelda game to be adapted into a feature-length reiteration is Ocarina of Time. A title which to this day is considered the best title in the series, not just because of its thrilling gameplay and world building, but its surprisingly complex and iconic story. So with this in mind, I'm going to be starting on my first Fancast video in a long time, by casting the main protagonist and villain for a potential live-action casting of an Ocarina of Time movie. I'll also be casting a few minor characters that I think would fit well into the movie in some way or another. Before I begin, don't forget to let me know in the comment section who you would cast for these characters, as well as any Fancast videos you'd like to see me do next. Also don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new here, and let's start with casting The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time in live action. First up, we have our main protagonist himself, Link, voiced by Chris Pratt. Now, Link doesn't really have much of a personality in the games, and much like with Mario, a better reference point for giving him some kind of emotional would be his character in the manga series. He's portrayed as someone who's really edgy and kind of an emo, but also optimistic at the same time, so it makes sense to cast an actor who could do that. It would also make sense to cast an actor who'd fit into the fantasy genre to play this character. So in other words, not Tom Holland. The actor I chose is Thomas Brodie Sangster, who's definitely not a stranger to the fantasy genre. His role in Game of Thrones is a key example of this, as well as his talent in action-based movies like the Maze Runner franchise. And if there was any need for Link to be portrayed in a more optimistic or charismatic way, he's also pulled off more heartfelt roles in movies like Love Actually and The Miracle of Cards. He also has the general look of an adult Link in Ocarina of Time's adult timeline, and also has brilliant range as an actor, as well as experience with both the action and fantasy film genres. I think he'd be the perfect and more obvious choice for an older Link, and more popular and younger actors like Tom Holland or Timothée Chalamet. So Thomas Brodie Sangster is Link. Next up we have Zelda, who over the course of the series has evolved into a far more involved secondary protagonist, rather than just the typical damsel in distress princess she was originally created as. And the fact that she actually now has a personality unlike Link in the later games makes her a far easier character to cast.
Zelda is basically very regal, but intelligent and determined. Sort of like a more, toned down version of Anya Taylor-Joy's portrayal of Princess Peach in the Mario movie. Talking of which, I thought that Anya Taylor-Joy would have been the perfect person to cast for this role, but even though these movies aren't canonically connected or anything, I just thought that the idea of having the same actress playing two iconic Nintendo princesses would be too weird. Emma Watson also would have been a good choice, but I feel like she'd basically just be playing Hermione from Harry Potter all over again, so I finally decided to settle on a slightly lesser known actress. I think Jenna Coleman would be a brilliant choice for a more mature and intelligent version of Zelda's adult character in Ocarina of Time. She's proven as Clara Oswald in Doctor Who that she's really great at inserting herself into those smart and witty strong female characters. She's also proven to be pretty well suited to the fantasy genre in the show as well, as the show has many fantastical elements in it despite being a sci-fi series. An example I'll give is the episode Robot of Sherwood, where she and the Doctor end up in a robotic simulation of the Robin Hood tales, with Clara basically taking up the role as Maid Marian in the episode, where I could really see her fitting really well into the medieval tone of Hyrule. So Jenna Coleman as Zelda. Next up we have Ganondorf, the main villain of the Zelda games, and this character isn't as easy to cast an actor for as you might think. Ganondorf does share some similar traits with other famous Nintendo villains like Bowser, kidnapping princesses, taking over the world, stealing magical items that gain them power. But Ganondorf also has some characteristics that differentiate him from the likes of Bowser, and that's the subtraction of Bowser's more cartoonishly goofy and sympathetic traits we see in games like the spin-off series, and even some of the platformers. Ganondorf is a pure evil villain, someone who's cold and intelligent, and has a really deep and ancient sounding voice to go alongside a towering build that makes him one of gaming's most intimidating villains. Idris Elba has been fancast as Ganondorf a lot in the past, and even though he already plays the role of Knuckles in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, I think he'd fit the role of Ganondorf like a glove. He has the perfect build, as well as the deep unsettling voice, and some wonderfully terrifying performances in things like Luther, Thor Ragnarok, Star Trek Beyond, and to some extent the Suicide Squad. While he's mainly known for playing heroes or protagonist roles in many of the movies and TV shows he's in, he's proven to tackle villain roles similar to Ganondorf perfectly in the past, and frankly, I just want to see this man play more antagonist roles, and I think a villain this threatening and powerful would be a perfect role for him. I was originally going to cast Keith David for the role, but I think he'd be a little bit too old for it. But don't worry, because I've decided to cast him for another role in this video. So Idris Elba as Ganondorf. For Navi, I think they should do the same thing they did for the Luma character in the Mario movie and just get some random kid to voice the character. And it makes sense too if you really think about it. Navi's stupid, kids are stupid. It just fits. So literally some random kid as the voice of Navi. For the final character for this video, I'll be casting the Great Deku Tree. This character is basically an ancient spirit guardian in the form of a talking tree that acts as this wise sage-type character in Ocarina of Time. For this casting choice, we're once again going for a voice actor to provide vocals for an animated character edited into live-action scenes. And it's important that the voice itself has an ancient elderly tone to it. A voice that makes you believe that this tree has been around for thousands of years, and has advice to give to potential passing travellers. I think a professional voice actor would fit this role perfectly, and for me, I could really see Keith David pulling this kind of performance off. Just some of his voice acting talent includes Adventure Time, Rick and Morty, Coraline, Hercules, The Princess Frog, and the English dub for Princess Mononoke. So yeah, this guy has talent. So Keith David as the voice of the Great Deku Tree. So that's my ideal cast for the live-action Legend of Zelda movie. Thanks again for watching the video, and don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you're new here. Before I conclude, I'd like to both thank and apologise to Toasty755 because he made this really cool Halloween variant intro to use for a horror movie review, which would have been the FNAF movie if I didn't suck so much at balancing my end-of-term class work with my personal hobbies and interests. So Toasty, if you're watching this, I do apologise, and thanks again for all the other cool intros you've made for the channel so far for me this year, and thanks again to you for watching this video. I hope to do more of these fancasts at some future point, and if any of you guys have any ideas or suggestions, don't forget to comment below, and I'll see you in my next video.